I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're delighted to welcome a very talented author to our show. His name is Dragan David Pecirep. He is the imaginative writer behind the book, Pepino The Spikey Stoic. It is a heartwarming tale that teaches both the young and the young at heart about the art of resilience and acceptance. This charming book explores the journey of handling life's unpredictable challenges, emphasizing the importance of focusing on what we can control to find peace and happiness. We're delighted to have this talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Dave, great to have you here today on Spotlight.
Mr. Crawford, thank you so much for having me to discuss the book.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Call me Logan. Love the book. Love Pepino. What a iconic character you've created, including his name, Pepino. Let's tell the folks at home the big picture, what the story is about.
Yeah, so the book is about the dichotomy of control. And this is concept that comes from the Stoics, Epictetus in particular, from his book Enchiridion. And in the beginning, he sort of talks about recognizing what's in our control and what's not within our control, what we call the externals, right? And accepting those things that we can do nothing about, and embracing the things that we really do have control over, sort of our thoughts, our actions, our feelings, our aversions, those things that are truly ours, and sort of making those our to-do list. And so that's what this book is about.
Those are tough concepts for kids, but you were able to break it down into a way that's understandable for them. Tell us about how you achieved that goal.
Yeah, so in working with pediatric clients in my practice, I like to overlay Stoicism with cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. That's the modality I work with. And when you're sort of talking about this stuff, I was thinking, well, this can sort of get lost on the younger crowd, and what's a way to make it more palatable than doing it with animals? And I would occasionally bring animals into sessions with kids that had real big behavioral issues, and we talk about this stuff, and that really sort of started to, I guess, peel back the layers of the onion on, if I can make this more fun, more of a story, I think this will make it people understand this. The kids will get this in a way that they walk out with, and not just some sort of theoretical concept that is often hard to get your head around, even for adults.
Yeah, exactly. If I said to 5 adults, what does stoicism mean? A lot would look at me like that. So it's good to break it down, and it is important. Have you used this book with children in your practice?
I have. And that was sort of the test audience, and some good reviews. More requests for the animals in the office. Yeah, we've used it, and with success.
Wonderful, wonderful. Was this the first time you tried your hand at writing a storybook?
This is the first time I've tried writing, and sort of a dubious process. Very lucky though to have a friend of mine who I've known a very long time, who's an amazing artist who did all of the work for Pepino, Kevin Goins. And he sort of helped me pull this together, and it was sort of, we met one day, and I said, Kev, I've got this idea. I want to write this book for kids, but boy, it only takes, you sort of run out of road, just like you would in a session, if it doesn't capture. And he says, I think I'll do something. Give me the ideas. Gave me the ideas, and he gave me some sketches, and we're off and running.
Wonderful, wonderful. The book reminds me of a little prayer I've often said, which is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change the things I cannot accept, and the wisdom to know the difference. That is basically the philosophy of this book, right?
You nailed it.
Yeah.
That's very much hand in glove with what we're talking about. Sort of looking at these things and sort of saying, okay, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do, and I've really got to practice accepting, like you said, those things that are nothing I can do about it.
Exactly.
And how often you see mental health issues stem from a lot of disturbances about what we think we can influence, what we can influence, what we can have, what we can't have, and it causes a lot of ill.
Yeah. An Irish Christian brother one time told me the wisdom to know the difference was the hard part there, what we can control and what we can't control.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's for sure. Tell us a little bit about your practice, CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which focuses not so much on your life story, but on real practical steps on how you can make real changes in your life, correct?
That's absolutely right. So looking at sort of where you came from and your core beliefs is big, right? Like how you're sort of, I would say to people, like you're sort of walking around with a little book about how you think life goes. And
Hmm.
that's important to sort of analyze. But really, CBT is a treatment that helps people identify unhelpful thoughts and then learn to challenge them with practical strategies. And that could be using Socratic questioning to evaluate your thoughts, journaling your thoughts and looking to see how true they are, if there's patterns in there, becoming aware of automatic negative thoughts, exposure therapy, which I like to call frustration tolerance. You think something really isn't good for you, and well, is it true? Could you do it? Could you do it a little bit? Is it partly true? Is it totally true? So there's a bunch of ways in this therapeutic modality that are very practical. And I think what's so unique about this is, and I tell my clients this all the time, I don't want to keep you. I want you to stay here, and I want you to learn a bunch of skills, and I want you to become almost your own therapist, become resilient and independent with these practical strategies so that you don't need to always come back to me. If something big happens, come on back, I'll see you.
Yeah.
But I want you to be independent, right? We're not going to sit on the couch and talk about mom for 5 years. We're not doing that. We're going to get you to a good point and you're on your own.
Wonderful. You sound like a very effective practitioner, because I do think a lot of people are fearful of talk therapy because they're going to have to rehash what their mother said to them when they were 5 years old. And you can touch upon that. You can't dwell upon that, I think, in making profound changes in life. You talked about us all having a little book that we have written for us or have written along the way, often by the imprint of our family, friends, and those around us. That's the tough part, rewriting that book, right?
Yeah, it is. And I think in the beginning, when we're working together, when you're working with a client, you would sort of look through their core beliefs that they have about themselves, other people, the world, and then seek to see if these things, are they true? Are they assumptions? Where did they come from? And then if they aren't true, if they don't hold up to good scrutiny, what are the implications of you walking around with these thoughts?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Great advice. Let's talk about Pepino a little bit more.
sure.
We talked about what the message was, but tell us a little bit about the story you have put together to convey that message.
Yeah, so this is a short story where Pepino, who's a real guy, by the way, for everyone watching, he was a real hedgehog. My wife always wanted a hedgehog since she was a little girl, and I surprised her with one. And Winston Kingsley, also real guy, real rabbit. The story Pepino is a stoic in this story, and he sort of passes on to Pepino in a few examples. Look, things aren't in our control. What do you think about that? And sort of he sort of walks away with this end of the story of the rhyme. No matter what comes my way, it's my choice how I see the day, right? It's my choice how I look at things, right? And so, that's sort of the arc of the story there, with Pepino being our stoic.
And that rhyme is kind of a great affirmation for people to carry with them, right?
Yeah, I thought, looking at other children's books and doing some due diligence and figuring out how to write a book, I thought if I could make it rhyme at the end, the simple message, that's a takeaway. And so you could sort of tuck your child into bed at night and say, okay, let me hear that rhyme again, right? And sort of get them to have that affirmation themselves. And those things stick.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you I'm often in very high pressure situations where it's a do or die audition. You're going against thousands of people. And I say to myself, I'm good, I'm great, I got this. And I keep on repeating that. And it totally calms me down, chills me out. So whatever that key phrase is for a certain person, it's important what we're putting up here, obviously. And that's the whole thrust of your book and the whole purpose of your practice. Tell me, now that you've written Pepino, do you have any other books percolating around out there? Not to be too illiterate.
No, so I'm looking at currently writing a book. It's a working title, sort of How to Think, Not What to Think. And it's a review of the great thinkers of Western philosophy. So Immanuel Kant and Aristotle and Socrates and a whole bunch of others. But when I work with adolescents, what I'm seeing a lot of is parroting, right? And so we're getting a lot of 30-second clips, a lot of information, almost a tsunami of so much information, but not a lot of good utilizing of critical thinking. Was this my idea? Was this idea handed off to me? If it was, is it good? So I would like to make a book, much like not a children's book, but a little bit for the older crowd, probably 18, 20, 23, where it's sort of a dive into the great thinkers and how they approach critical thinking, right? And equipping somebody with these tools. Now, you don't have to have an undergraduate course in this, but at least to be exposed to some of the ways that these people looked at things and really sort of sat and thought and questioned, and at times were even persecuted for doing so.
Yeah.
But came closer to the truth, not consensus. And so I'd like to make a book like that. And so stay tuned. We'll see.
Sounds great. Not a lot of students nowadays are studying Immanuel Kant. So I think it's got a place out there for sure. And I think it's a great premise to take the best minds in the world, the best philosophers, and whittle it down to something that we can all understand and have it as a workbook in our lives. Terrific. Have you back on the show when you've written that. In the meantime, I've got a great storybook to recommend for the holiday season and of course beyond. It's called Pepino The Spikey Stoic. It's written by Dragan David Pecirep. He is a psychologist who specializes in cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is a great book because it'll teach children an important lesson. It'll teach them about the art of resilience and acceptance and realizing that there are things in this world we can change and things we can't. Anything you want to leave us with before we go today, David?
Yeah, I was wondering if you would ask me that. And there's one thing I want to say. For anybody out there that's struggling, really struggling, I want you to know there's a number 988 you can call. It's the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Whoever you are, wherever you are, know you're valued, know you're loved, and that ending it would be a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Give them a call.
Great advice, particularly this time of year. A lot of people feel sad. A lot of people feel alone. This is just a passing moment of time. It's going to get better. David, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
The honor is mine. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.